welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are watching episodes 126 and 127. So in the last episode, we got to see a lot of Ichigo dealing with some stuff. So part of that was him becoming a hollow, or sort of becoming a hollow. It's complicated because Vizard wanted him to kind of fully go hollow so that they could figure out his power levels, figure out how to train him, that kind of a thing. And so while that was happening, we had Ichigo doing a lot of like internal conflict, mostly because of White Ichigo doing some crazy stuff behind the scenes. So we had White Ichigo, who was really trying to gain power of Ichigo's body. We've seen that he's been trying to do that for a while now, but it really came to a head in this last episodes. So we had White Ichigo, who was fighting against normal Ichigo, and mixed within that we had some flashbacks to different characters, one of which I didn't know because he was from the Bount arc, which I haven't watched, so I don't know anything about that. We also had a little bit of Byakuya and a little bit of Zedeki. Now, you guys have told me in the comments that Zedeki is the only one that was really in the manga, and they added in the other characters to kind of like lengthen things out and stuff like that. So really, I mean, I really get the like thematic resonance of Zedeki being there a lot more, because we were dealing with Ichigo trying to figure out what motivates him and why he fights and why he's even part of this and that kind of a thing. So having him encounter Zedeki again was a way of him like facing dead on like someone who just enjoys fighting for the sake of fighting. Like Zedeki just loves fighting and that's it. And whereas Ichigo has a lot more going on with like why exactly he fights. And I think part of Ichigo's issue is that like maybe to some extent he enjoys fighting, but I think mostly he fights as like a consequence of him wanting to help people and protect people, and like not so much because he wants to like get into conflicts with people or get drawn into like these big crazy fights. I feel like ultimately Ichigo is like just trying to help people, and if getting into fights is like the path to doing that, he's willing to do that. So recently a lot of his fights his friends have been getting hurt in, and he feels a lot of guilt about that and a lot of like responsibility for bringing them into the conflict. So this was really him like figuring out, I feel like, a motivation for him in and of himself, because I feel like Ichigo's a very like external person when it comes to his motivations. Like he very much what he's gonna do and why he's gonna do things a certain way based on like how it affects other people. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. I mean like, you know, would Ichigo have become a Soul Reaper if he didn't want to protect his family? Probably not. Would he have gone to the Soul Society and gotten mixed up with all that if it wasn't to help Orukia? No. Like, you know, there's a lot of things that Ichigo has done not for himself. He does it because he wants to help people and he wants to be someone who can protect his friends and those around him. So this was really like Ichigo trying to figure out, okay, what do I want though? Like, what is it that I'm interested in? What is it that pulls me towards wanting to become a stronger person? Because ultimately, him having control over his body as opposed to the Hollow having control over his body is about like who should be in power, right? Ichigo really needed to prove that he deserved to be in power, and some great moments between him and White Ichigo from like a dialogue standpoint. And I know that I'm not getting like the real gist of it because it's like a translation, but just like that being like the key to it, of like, why does he want to be powerful? Why does it matter that he is in charge? And I feel like Ichigo really found out that like he wants to be stronger. Partly he wants to be stronger because it means that he can help more people, he can protect more people, but I think also Ichigo just wants to be stronger. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing in and of itself. I feel like it's a little bit like villain-esque to say that what motivates you is the fact that you want to be really strong, but I don't think wanting something just for the sake of having it is like necessarily a bad thing. Because I know for me, I love learning. I love learning about new things and like chasing knowledge and stuff, and most of the time the stuff that I learned about is completely useless for my everyday life, but I like knowing it just for the sake of knowing it. And I know that that's not like a useful skill, but it's what I enjoy doing. So if Ichigo wants to be stronger just for the sake of being stronger, regardless of how he uses it, then that's totally fine, you know? As long as he doesn't use the power for evil, he can do whatever he wants. And as a result of this whole internal conflict, we got to see the hollow version of Ichigo, which, like, on the one hand is pretty cool, on the other hand is completely terrifying. So I'm glad that that is not the thing that we're going to be doing anymore. And it looks like we are hopefully going to be getting into a little bit more about what's been going on with the other characters. In the meantime, I think we're going to see some of Ichigo with Vizard, because Vizard has agreed to help him learn how to control this hollow and his power and stuff like that. Probably with, like, some strings attached, but we'll see how that works out. And then there's also stuff that has been going on with Ishida, who's been training with his dad. We got to see, like, a tiny little bit of that, but not really. We also saw Sado was asking Urahara to help him train, so we saw a tiny bit of that as well. And maybe we'll get to see Orihime kind of flex her power a little bit. But the most important thing that we learned about in the last episode was when Yamamoto, I think his name is, the old man that's in charge of the Soul Society, called up Toshiro and told us exactly what's been going on with the whole Aizen thing. So we found out that first we found out that there is a Soul King, so there's like a royal family within the whole spirit world thing, which makes sense that there would be some kind of monarchy, especially considering that there's like elite families and stuff. So there's a Soul King, he's basically in charge, but he's more of like a figurehead, and there was this specific device, which I can't remember the name of now. I'm sure editing me will think you have to tell me what it is. It's been a while since I watched this show, so... But the device, like, creates a Soul King and gives him some of his power, and then we found out that, you know, Aizen wasn't looking into the archives that were about how to find this device. I feel so bad that I don't remember what it's called. Should I look it up? I should look it up. I'm not gonna be able to see with my glasses. Oh, the key. Key is what we called it. So this, like, soul key thing, the location of it has only been ever handed down, like, by word of mouth between the different, like, head captains, and so there's no way for him to, like, for Aizen to find exactly where it is just by looking through the archives. But instead of that, instead of, like, finding the Soul King, finding this key, he actually was looking into how to make one of these soul key things. And it's by sacrificing a lot of people. Specifically sacrificing people that are in this, like, spiritual, like, high spiritual pressure bubble thing. So there's like a zone of more spirit pressure, and of course that zone has to be Ichigo's hometown, because where else would it be, you know? Which makes sense within the context of the show, because we know that there are lots of people who have spirit pressure and abilities within and around where Ichigo lives, and that more and more of it is awakening. So it makes sense that there would be just like more spirit pressure in that area, you know, because there are more people with that kind of ability, but also like having that kind of aura, I don't know if that's the right word, would like trigger more people to have spirit pressure and certain abilities. So we've got a time limit, because of course we do, by the end of the year that this is probably gonna happen, and a lot of people are gonna die if we don't stop it. So stakes are high. I also have my own theory that I think Aizen is working on a slightly different time frame than what the Soul Society is predicting, because Aizen is smart, and I don't put it past him to like do something unexpected. So things are getting a little bit intense, which is why I'm a little bit intrigued as to why there's so many filler episodes coming up, because there's like 10 of them after episode 127. So like, what are we skipping over? What is not happening for that many episodes when we have just like dropped this bombshell into the storyline? But whatever might be happening, we're probably gonna skip over it and just go back to the main story like we usually do. I've talked long enough. Let's just get into episode 126. In 3, 2, 1, go. I'm not sure if I'm gonna need Totoro. He's in reach. I also apologize if I start coughing a lot during this, because the air quality has been awful where I am for like the last few days, and my lungs do not like it, so I apologize. I don't love Aizen's creepy smile at the beginning. The summary. Why do I feel like this is only gonna get worse? Like, the summary thing. Yes, the key. Oken. Is that what it's called? One spiritual mile. Is that a form of measurement? That's right! Mama! Coming to say hi. Poor little thing. I just want to give her a hug. She's been through a lot. You look tired. That's what I said. Like, she looks rough. It's okay. Aizen played all of us. Oh. Their friendship is cute. Oh, are we pulling the captain card? I mean, he kind of already tried to fight Aizen. Didn't go super well for him. Save him? Hun, what is there to save? Nope. Denial. Ooh. Ooh, my boy! Ugh, my boys. Just training. Love it. Does his shirt say red pineapple? Because I love that. Are you gonna pretend like you don't know how to use a Bankai? Yeah, I'm like, I don't believe that Urahara doesn't know how to use a Bankai. Ooh, what would his look like? I want to know what his Bankai looks like. Oh, are we guilting him? So you do have one. I knew it. 3 months. So they guilted him into it. Still, he needs to train with his Bankai too, so I think Renji taking over the training is a good idea. I love his Bankai. Sato's doing a good job keeping up, though. To be fighting against someone with a Bankai when he doesn't have one himself? Ooh. Maybe spoke too soon. What's the next step? Oh? Is it? Is it kind of like Orihime's, where it's like works in a way that most people haven't seen before? What is it? Ooh. Aww. Way to recycle animation, though. Ooh, did Orihime find him? Ah, good thinking. Look at her using critical thought, figuring things out. Are they gonna be able to tell that she's there because she touched it? Ooh. Ooh. That's cool. Ooh. Does he sense it? Not exactly. A high school girl. You're pretty casual about that. That's what I'm saying. But you don't have to do it on your own. Oh, that's good. That it's not dark and scary. Did she just leave? I love the way they bicker like a family. Interesting detail, though. To have a similar ability to a Visored. Yoruichi! Oh, why is that? Why is she getting involved with training? Ishida? Ooh, wow, you look rough too. Still alive though, that's good. considering he's been fighting a man who's like actively trying to kill him for a while now. He might be. I was like, that might be exactly what he's saying. Graceful. That's good. Ooh, that looked close. Ooh, why? Um, he's a better person than you. I really don't like him. I never did like him, but I especially don't like him after that. Excuse me. My mother texted me, so... quickly respond so she doesn't think I'm dead. I don't know what I'm doing at this point. Ikage! I think it was really interesting that in that episode we got to see Ichigo starting to experiment with his hollow self, because usually it's like he doesn't have any control. Like, White Ichigo, Hollow Ichigo, is fully in control of what is going on, and Ichigo is somewhere suppressed in the background. So to have a chance to see Ichigo really starting to play with being in charge of that hollow power and that kind of like part hollow, part Soul Reaper form that he has going on is a very good step in the right direction. Of course, he could only keep it for what, 4 seconds or something, so there's definitely a lot of work with that for him to like fully figure out how to use his power. But, you know, baby steps. And I think part of it might also be just Ichigo, like he knows he can be more powerful, but I think there still might be some hesitation in him like using that power, because like I feel like he doesn't want to just like, you know, bring up all of the hollow power and just like use it all at once, because if he loses control, the hollow takes over, right? And I feel like he like said, if I held on to the form longer, it would have been dangerous for Hiyori. So I feel like at the moment he's on like that thin line between like having control and losing control, and he's like being very careful about how he's walking that line, which is understandable given that like there's a murderous hollow inside of him that might take over at any second. So I guess caution is the best thing Ichigo can do at this point. We also had some interesting conversation, internal monologue from Urahara regarding Sado and his power. So we saw Urahara guilting Arenji into helping train Sado, which I mean I really think is like best for Arenji too, because Arenji doesn't fully know how to control his Bankai. Like I feel like he's better at it now after having fought the Arenka, that like he's better with it, but like he still isn't used to using it. So him being in charge of training Sado is like also a way of him training. So I think it's like Urahara trying to do like 2 things at the same time because we got a time limit, which interesting that Urahara seems to be aware of that. Like he said like 3 months, it was something like 4 months that they had before the like the device that Urahara made like fully awakens. So like it might be just because he made the device, so he knows the time limit through that. But he also seems to know more about what's going on in general than I think the Soul Society does. Like him and Isshin seem to have some kind of understanding about what's going on that like they're not sharing with the group at the moment. So interesting that he said specifically 3 months. So we have Sado fighting against Arenji, and Urahara had this kind of moment where he said that Sado's power wasn't like a Soul Reaper and it wasn't like a Quincy, it was something else. And he said like it's almost like, and it was kind of cut off. So I wonder if it's similar to maybe like Visored or an Arenka, because we had Orihime being able to get past that barrier to go into like the Visored's hideout, and she was able to pass through that barrier because that power is very similar to hers, so she understood it a lot better than most people. So I wonder if Sado also has like some more similarities to these like Soul Reaper hollow mixes. And I feel like that might make sense for Sado's, because it is like physically transforming him and it has like this armor incorporated with it, which is very much like the Arenka when they release their Zanpakuto and they like kind of transform. I know it's probably not the same, but there are similarities there. So I wonder if that's what Urahara's train of thought is with that. I'm sure we won't find out for a while because he was trying to act like he didn't have a Bankai, and I was like, lies. There's no way. Even Arenji was like, there's no way. You were a captain. I know this. You definitely have a Bankai, which he was a little bit mysterious about. So I would like to see this Bankai, and I'm sure I'm going to have to wait a rather long time for that to happen. but I think it'll be really cool when we actually get to see it. We of course had poor Hinamori, Momo, who was a little bit in denial, maybe a little delusional about the whole Aizen thing. I think it's definitely going to take her a while to wrap her head around what exactly is happening, and it just made me want to give her a hug. Like, she's been through so much. She's looking a little bit rough, a little bit worn out, and I definitely think that this whole, like, the way that this is all affecting her is gonna make Toshiro, like, super vengeful. Like, the moment that Toshiro gets to have a rematch with Aizen is probably gonna be epic. Like, I wanna see Toshiro, like, really fight against Aizen, because he didn't fully get a chance last time. And I'm sure he's been training and working on some things so that he'll be better prepared next time they meet each other. And then we had Yoroichi coming and getting Orihime, because Urahara wants her to come to the training ground, so I assume that she's going to be either training herself or is going to be helping along with Sato's training. I assume that Urahara might frame it that she's helping Sato with his training, but he's actually going to want to try and train her because he seems to be aware that there's this time limit and that everybody needs to get trained properly. So I assume that he is going to put some effort into training her some more and getting her as ready as she can be for the whole Aizen trying to kill 100,000 people thing. You know, like you do. So we have one episode left before there's a bunch of filler stuff. I guess we're going to be seeing some more training that's going on, kind of like touching base with all the characters. There was some Matsumoto and some Toshiro that we saw. We also saw some Ikagi, so seeing him and what his training is entailing, kind of seeing where everybody's at after the whole recovering from being attacked by Arrancar thing. So I don't know what note we're gonna end on with that episode, going into the filler stuff, but I guess there's only one way to find out. I can sit here and speculate all day, but we're just gonna have to watch the episode. So let's watch episode 127. In 3, 2, 1, go. I'm gonna try really hard not to have a coughing fit during this. I guess this is the last time I'm gonna watch this opener, because we're skipping like 10 episodes, so I assume that by then there'll be a different opener, right? We haven't really seen a lot of, like, inside the Soul Society. Like, we've seen people come from the Soul Society, or, like, the, like, video call thing. Ooh, hit my mic. The video call, but we haven't been really in the Soul Society a whole lot. Except the hallucination that Ichigo had, where he fought Byakuya. No recap this time. She looks determined. Training time. Oh no. Ikagu. Matsumoto's there. I believe that. I love that she just like casually negates unwanted attention. Oop. Yes, they're all like that. Way to dig yourself out of that hole. Just casual chaos, don't worry about it. Oof. You look a little worn out too, Renji. I was listening. I'll say I was reading. Oof. Denji, sweetie, I love you, but there's a line, okay? You can't hurt Sud though. It's off limits. So be careful. Oh, so that's probably why Urahara knew about it. Matsumoto was going to tell people. Everyone's so desperate to be stronger. It's like somewhat motivational, but like also makes my heart hurt a little bit. Really? Why? Oh, was he still injured? Plus, I mean, if she needs someone else to protect her, like attack on her behalf, it means that someone's always gonna have to be distracted, keeping an eye on her, right? But I feel like he's also pushing her to like figure it out. Like pushing her to be like, you have to prove that you can do this. I feel like Urahara is just trying to push her. Like if she wants to be a part of it, she has to find a way to like be stronger. Rukia reacts like I do when people start crying in front of me. I don't know what to do. Aww. Look at Rukia being a supportive good friend. Ooh, hello. Oh, is she gonna learn something about her powers from the Visored? Oh, Rukia probably has no idea what's going on. I just realized she hasn't been a part of this. It's a little ominous. Orihime is so cute. Hachi seems like a soft soul. You know, despite the whole hollow thing. Welcome back. Why are there so many heartwarming moments in this episode? I'm just like... Did Noah tell her that he was safe? Let's go prove Urahara wrong. Well, hello again. Ooh, he's number 10. Interesting. Ooh. That seemed unnecessarily violent. Why is Aizen interested in Orihime? I don't like that smile. Oh dear. I don't know if it really matters if I watch the preview. Since we're gonna be— ooh, hit my wall, sorry. Since we're gonna be skipping some stuff. I just always worry that there's like, I don't know, something important at the end. Like an extra scene or something. That was a much sweeter episode than I was expecting. A little ominous at the end, but overall fairly sweet. Looks like it's gonna be a Matsumoto episode next. So I feel like that episode was a lot more chill than we've been getting for the last little bit. There were some good, like, character moments. There were people kind of having some sweet conversations with each other. I loved the whole interaction between Orihime and Rukia, of them, like, it was sort of like Rukia going into her like tough love mode that she tends to use a lot with Ichigo, but this time it like softened a lot more when she was dealing with Orihime, because obviously Orihime like is a different person and she has different things that motivate her, and she's a lot more like, she's a softer person. She doesn't need someone to like kick her into action. She needs someone to kind of like coax her out of her comfort zone. So getting to see like that interaction between those two, and then later on getting this moment between Orihime and Hachi and them kind of having a cute moment. I like that everyone was being sweet to Orihime, except for like Urahara, but I'll get to that in a second. But to see those two interacting with each other and really sharing something deeper than I think a lot of other people have, because like, just because the other Vizard like also have hollow abilities and stuff, they all have their own thing, and I feel like there's a lot of that in general with a lot of the main cast of characters, is they all have like their own thing, with the exception of like Soul Reapers basically all having a Zanpakuto, but even then they like work differently. So to have Orihime and Hachi bond like in the essence of their power is really similar, and being able, and they have a similar nature as well, I think. So seeing those two interact and help each other was really heartwarming. It's a nice way to like end things off. We got some filler that we're gonna be skipping over, and I'm sure it'll be really, really intense when I come back, like where we pick up again on the main story. But for now, I got a little bit of a breather. We kind of get to see everybody trying their hardest. My sweet Sado trying his best to get stronger. Renji working to get stronger. Ichigo looked like in a little clip with him fighting Hiyori that he's like maintaining his hollow form a little bit better than we saw in the previous episode. And of course we got Urahara, who was saying some things to Orihime, but like I said during the reaction, I think a lot of that is him just pushing Orihime to make a decision. Like, I think because they have such a tight time limit, and Urahara knows that he's like, he's saying all these things because he wants her to like realize where she's at now and where she needs to be. And he's saying, well, okay, you know, if you want to fight, if you want to be in this fight, you can't be where you are now. You have to get better. You have to get stronger. You have to have more resolve. And I feel like that's a lot similar to what was going on with Ichigo, because Ichigo, with the whole him against white Ichigo thing, was, okay, what is your resolve? What is your drive? What motivates you to be in this fight? And Orihime is having kind of like a parallel moment of her being like, okay, what do I do now? And I feel like there was a lot of really nice parallels in general in this last arc between Ichigo's journey and Orihime's journey. Obviously like different in terms of like skill set, and I feel like Orihime's was more of like an emotional, mental thing than Ichigo's, because Ichigo had kind of the whole hollow thing to deal with. But I feel like there were some interesting parallels between like how they both had to deal with the fact that they weren't able to help their friends when the Arinka first showed up, the fact that they had to watch as people they cared about get hurt, the fact that they felt they weren't strong enough, that they were a burden, that they weren't at the level that they needed to be, and they were kind of questioning whether or not they should be in the fight at all. And then at this point of them both being like, okay, we've dealt with that whole thing of like, am I good enough? And now it's like, okay, well, why do I want to fight so badly? Like, I both of them, I think, know that they can get stronger, that they have more potential than they've tapped into yet. But both of them are being like, okay, so why am I fighting though? Like, why is it so important to me to be stronger, to be part of this fight? Why do I want to do this? And, you know, Ichigo finding his resolve, and now Orihime having to find hers. And I really liked that when Hachi was like, I don't think you should fight, and this is why, because I don't think you're built for it. And I've talked about that too, where I'm like, I don't think Orihime is built to be a fighter. And then having him be, okay, so do you want to be a part of it? Like, do you still want to be part of this fight? And her saying, yeah, I do. And, you know, her finding that within herself of, you know, needing to be part of this fight because it's something that matters to her and it's something that matters to her friends. And it's a very, you know, different tone to what Ichigo went through. But I do like that we're kind of expanding on Orihime and what her kind of character motives are and stuff like that. And of course, at the very, very end, we had that moment where Aizen was like watching footage of Orihime and seemed to be quite interested in her. I remember in one of the episodes, I can't remember what it was, but I was talking about how in the opener for the show, it was interesting that there were a lot of connections between Aizen and Orihime. Like, I found that there were a lot of scenes where one of them would be in it and then the other character would show up. Like, it would show like a scene of Orihime and then Aizen would show up and then there'd be a scene of Aizen and then Orihime would be in the next scene. So I was like, it's interesting that those two seem to be like, you know, tied together in some way. And we know that there was a certain interest in it from Alcura. I'll never confidently say his name, but we saw him briefly in this episode too, saying that she had a lot of potential in her power, specifically that Orihime has like the ability to manipulate time or dimensions or whatever. It hasn't fully been figured out yet. So to have Aizen kind of has his sights on her a little bit is something that makes me a little bit nervous, because I like Orihime, she's very sweet, and I don't want her to get mixed up in anything too crazy, but I feel like she is gonna do that. It's a lot. And then of course we had the reveal of, what was his name? The guy that was the first Arrancar that Ichigo is fighting, and he cut off his arm. It was like a really simple name and I can't remember it. Editing me, help me out. But we saw him again, he got his arm reattached, and he had the 10 tattooed on his shoulder, which we know is a mark of like the top 10 fighters within the Arrancar. So that's really interesting that he's like up there. I mean, he's not like super high up, but the fact that he is in the top 10 is an interesting revelation. So we're definitely gonna have to deal with him again. I thought maybe we wouldn't deal with him again because he felt a little bit like a henchman. I was like, I don't know, we got his arm cut off. He kind of like went home with his tail between his legs, so I was like, maybe we won't see him again. But I feel like we definitely are, and it's going to be a bit of a grudge match. So something to keep an eye out for. I do want to know what's going to happen with Grimmjow, because Grimmjow got his arm like cut off and incinerated and it's gone now. So is he like still in the top 10? Is he still able to fight? I assume so. But also, like, what's going on with him? Is he like not as powerful now? I don't know. Is he more powerful? I'm sure we'll find out. I think that's pretty much what I'm gonna get into. Of course, I don't know what's gonna be coming because we're skipping some episodes for filler, so I don't really know what is gonna be happening in the next episode, which is like exciting in some ways but also nerve-wracking because it could mean that like all of the sweet quiet moments are going to pass in the filler and we're just gonna like jump right back into like the high stress situations again, which, you know, could be okay. I mean, I feel like Ishida is gonna come back because we had him where he got shot in the chest by his dad, and maybe that's gonna trigger his powers to come back. I assume so. His dad seems to think that that is what is going to happen. So I would assume that during the filler he's gonna be like recovering and training his abilities, so maybe he'll get involved in the whole fight thing because he knows that something's going on because he can sense it. I feel like when we come back it's gonna be fights. Like, it's gonna be rematches and stuff. But I hope you enjoyed watching those episodes along with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!